everyone, welcome to That Pedal Show. Viewers, comments and questions live. Dan here.
Mick here, hello!
Mick is having his birthday this week.
I am. Having a birthday, yes. I shall be having a birthday.
Do you remember when we were at Tom Ann and we had to do the birthday version in like A minor, whatever it was?
Yeah.
It was like a dirge.
And then there's the fusion version. Yeah. Anyway,
The hit. We'll probably still get
demonetized.
strikes for it.
Yeah. Welcome to viewers' comments and questions. Fair friends. Oh, you can be quiet.
That's enough out of you.
That's enough out of you, mate. Welcome. We do this most Mondays. A big thank you, first and foremost, to everyone who's joining us this evening.
Yeah.
It's very lovely to have you here. And neither less first, but certainly no less foremost, to BV for moderating and being in that whole world. Thank you so much, BV. We are in your debt. Welcome. We shall be talking about stuff and things. We'll prioritise the super chats.
We'll prioritise the stuff.
Yeah.
And the things will come later.
Yes. Stuff prioritised, things secondarily rated. Monday.
Great song.
Groovy. So we've got BV on, we've got Wes Chilton on. Hi Wes.
Hey,
Justin Baylog. Nice to hear from you, Justin. Lee Michael Geller. Sister of Sarah, maybe. Dylan Croft is on. High mileage douchebag. Yeah. Nice. John 777. Greg Sachs is on. Eagle Ray Rob. Hey Rob, how you doing? Yes. Greetings from rainy Forest Grove, Oregon, says Tim Chalmers. What a nice place to be. Good. Joel Habriel is on. Dave Johnson. How soon does the U change their collective clock from the UK? So I'm guessing parts of the USA have gone to daylight saving. Have you? Is that why that question has come up? We go in the last weekend of March, so it'll be 2 weeks' time for us.
And when is Easter?
When NAMM is, unfortunately, which is why all the flaming flights and hotels are so expensive.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
The sort of 16th of April-ish.
Right.
I believe.
Anyone going to NAMM?
I am.
He is. I shall be here. My sister and my nephews and nieces are coming over. I haven't seen them for 5 years now. So
Wow.
I need to be here for that.
Nice.
Which would be nice. It'd be nice to see him.
Yeah.
I'm bummed I'm going to miss NAMM though.
Yeah, I think NAMM's going to be a pretty subdued affair, looking by those who won't be
You
there.
don't have to tell me it's going to be subdued.
No,
I know.
there's a lot of people not going to be there. A lot of people sort of going, yeah.
But it's still going to be great. It's
those
always
people
great.
who are there will enjoy themselves nonetheless.
Yeah.
Good. So thank
Tim
you.
Halligan. Well done, mate.
What did he say?
He said, Dan, Stealth Eagle Rock, daddy cool. Because Eagle Ray Rob was on, and I was like, yeah. It just reminded me, I remember playing that song as a kid, a teenager at school.
Which song?
This band is a song called Eagle Rock.
Okay.
By Daddy Cool, Australian band.
Oh, yeah. Literally no idea.
No.
John O'Neill from Chicago. Thomas Schlack from Gibson Demo Shop. Hello, Thomas.
Hello.
Got any flying V's then, have you? I've been looking at flying V's with strangely allured eyes just recently.
Oh, man.
If TPS could get any more ridiculous, it would involve some sort of what were they called? Futura series, modern series. Moderna.
Oh yeah.
What were they called? The V, the Explorer, and the Moderna.
Modern. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, whatever.
That was a bizarre looking. It was never made, right? They had drawings, but it was never made.
they made a reissue later, I think.
Yeah,
but
but originally it was never made.
So say it was never made.
Right.
Yeah.
Mike says at NAMM, permission to approach? No eye contact, of course, and we'll address formally.
Thomas Schlack says, yeah, got plenty. Awesome. Groovy. Right, let us get into the super chats then. I don't know how long it'll be before we turn them off.
JR Time says, NAMM will never be back to the way it was. That might be a good thing. That's a very interesting perspective. I mean, how long were you going to NAMM, or have you been going to NAMM? You've been there a long time, right?
I think maybe 97 was my first one.
Right. And
26 years ago.
Right. I think my first one was 2005 or 2006. And we've both seen lots of changes over those years, but it's always a smashing event. It's always,
I'm always, when everyone says, oh, it'll never be like it was, or and I get the sentiment of the comment. I think in its current form, it's probably outpuffed itself, as it were. For those of you who don't know, NAMM is the kind of yearly gathering of manufacturers and retailers predominantly, was what it was set up for back in the day.
Yep.
So that
it stands for not available, maybe may.
North American Music Merchants or something like that.
Oh, okay. Right.
Something like that. But Dan's first assertion was in fact correct. And it used to be that the people would make their stuff and then the retailers would come from all over the US and further afield and buy their stuff for the year. But of course, that's no longer really required because it all exists online. The big manufacturers all have their open days. It's all tied into the big retailers, so they tend to make what the big retailers want them to make. So NAMM doesn't really work in that way anymore, but it is a great place for artists and media and to hang out. So it will evolve. And if anyone's confused about the sort of general situation with evolution, just look at 50 years ago and ask yourself what's the same now than it was 50 years ago. Things evolve, don't they? And we should embrace that. Except guitar amps, they don't evolve.
Yes.
Not as far as...
well, how do you improve on perfect?
Not as far as that pedal show is concerned, anyway. Right, super chats. How many we got in then? Let's see.
Let's have a look.
Quite a lot.
National Association of Music Merchants, says Mike.
Thank you.
There we go. I think we'll
turn them off. We'll turn off the super chats.
So Gig only ever displayed once at NAMM.
Right.
And then it was like, well, actually, we sell direct in America. There was no real point for us being there, but I went every year after that just to hang with all the artists and mates and stuff. It was really great.
I mean, some of the big manufacturers, they'll be spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to just go. By the time you've flown everyone there, paid NAMM, built your stand, got the hotels, it's, even for us to go, it's quite a few $1,000s, and that's quite a lot of money.
Indeed. Grooms Music says, you guys are the best. First time in chat, but long time watcher. Cheers, mate. Welcome.
Welcome. You're among family now. Right then. Super chat. First this week up is Wastel 10.
Wastel 10.
Nice to hear from you. Hi, DNM. I'd love to see a show about stage organisation. If you can detect the hairs on the back of my neck going up and a slight sweat pouring down and anger emanating from me, that's how I feel about stage organisation.
It's a tricky one.
For example, I always take my cables to the ground and have the set list next to my board, but I'm sure you have a bunch more tips and tricks for us.
You know what? That's a really, really good idea, because it's a very important thing when it comes to getting your sound right. Starting off on, where the drummer sits, who's going to be on his hats, all that stuff, and where you have your amp in relation to where you are on stage. I think that's a really interesting thing because it makes a massive difference. I remember
Makes all the difference.
like I'm on a tiny stage. It was like I couldn't hear myself, but I'm absolutely destroying everyone in the front row. It's like because amp was too low, and I leaned it back. It's like, oh, blinking heck. So those things that you think are maybe really obvious, it actually, in the heat of the moment, it can be hard.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
So you've got an ideal situation, haven't you? And like anything in life, the ideal way to do it is this. But when it actually happens, it's never ideal because, I don't know, the space is bigger or smaller than you expected, or somebody's brought an extra piece of equipment or whatever. I've never cracked it to the point where it's a war of attrition. In a way that whoever gets there first always grabs the prime spot and takes up all the room.
Yeah.
And then everyone, and it's like, did you not realise everyone else was coming? Or, there's 3 guitar stands and spaces them a metre apart each. It's like, what are you doing? So, but those are the sorts of things that trigger my, I'm not going to say OCD because I don't have OCD, but I'm quite particular about all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, stuff like taping your cables down, I'm quite fastidious about running them out of my board, underneath the board, around the back of everything into the amp, so nobody can trip over them.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea for a show. I really do.
Yeah.
No?
Maybe. A lot of it's just common sense, isn't it?
You say that. It's common sense because we've been doing it for however long, 30
I
plus
apologise
years.
for using the term common sense. There's no such thing.
No.
It's a ridiculous notion.
So I think it's like...
Yeah.
Because the thing is, if you're doing your first gig, you walk in, you got your amp, you got your guitar, what do you do?
Yeah.
I think it's certainly worthy of discussion.
It is. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Michael Giliberto. Hello, Michael.
G'day, Michael.
He says, hello, Legends.
G'day, mate.
Your band has booked a low-rent rehearsal room with unknown
Yes,
amps.
they have.
Unknown amps, likely a mix of not-so-good tube and solid-state units. By the way, every rehearsal room in the whole world has got a Marshall valve state with a 4x12 with one speaker blown and some other amp.
Yes.
And everyone races for the Marshall and the other amp is like... Anyway, what 3 pedals do you bring, excluding a tuner, to achieve a decent tone? So you're going to a rehearsal room, you don't really know what's going to be there. What 3 pedals do you take?
That's such a good question. First of all, I wouldn't rehearse without my own amps.
Nor me, ever.
It's just, what's the point? But let's say the amps are lost in transit, whatever, we can't, for whatever reason, our amps cannot be there. I would say I have to have, 3 pedals. I've got to have a gain stage. I've got to have a delay, and I would probably take an EQ.
That's a good shout.
Because if it's because I don't know what the amp is, and it might have a frequency that's just like, Most amplifiers, you can dial that out doing the Matt Schofield trick. But yeah, an EQ could be handy.
For those of you not aware, hello to our patrons on Patreon,
Yes,
by the way, with
indeed.
the podcast. We hope you're doing something fun while listening to this. For those of you not aware, the Matt Schofield trick is basically, it doesn't really matter if you start with the EQs on 10 or on 0. In some cases, it might make more sense to start on 10, but in any case, you sweep through each pot individually, and what you'll find in those pots is a point of noticeable change.
Yes, indeed.
Where it kind of goes, oh, hello. And that's where Matt will set his EQs.
Yep.
And according to him, that's where the amp is most open and most responsive to what he wants it to do. Not too much of anything, not enough of anything. So yeah, each pot individually. And then by the time you've done them all, it might be worth just going through them again.
Yep.
And that includes everything, doesn't it? Gain,
indeed. All that stuff.
all of it.
Yep.
So, and it's the point of biggest difference and set it there.
Yeah.
So that's the Matt Schofield trick. Yeah, I like the EQ pedal shout.
Yeah.
But I'm just not sensible enough to do that. So I would take a boost, like just a straight boosty boost. So what do we like? The Thorpe
Heavy water.
Heavy Water. I really love the Crazy Tube Circuits superconductor.
That's awesome.
So that
boost.
And then an overdrive of some description, which
Yeah.
would probably be D&M drive,
Yeah. D&M drive. Yeah. So
tube screamer,
yeah.
dualist, probably a dual overdrive actually.
Right.
So yeah, dualist, D&M drive, protein,
King of Tone.
not the King of Tone. I wouldn't. That's not my thing. Or the Gladio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So something that's quite. So you've got a wide range.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
To get where you need to be.
Yeah. Kim Kleist Eriksson. I'm a huge fan of Greenland. Bought Giga G3. What's the ETA? Kim, any questions like that, just get in touch with Lizzie at support. That we start shipping the next batch from the first week of April. So they're all being built at the moment and tested and stuff. So yeah, get in touch with Lizzie through support and she'll let you know exactly when your unit's due to start shipping.
Did he say Greenland?
Greenland.
Have you seen Greenland on a map?
No. Looks white.
Yeah, quite.
Right.
It's flipping massive.
Really?
Massive.
I have to check that out now.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, Joe Halliday. Hello, Joe.
G'day, mate.
How are you? Joe is from Hello Sailor Effects. Joe, you've been impossibly generous with your super chats, mate. You don't need to do that. Joe has sent us loads of pedals over the years and also modified the amp which he's about to talk about. He says, hello from an undisclosed location at sea, for Joe is in the Navy.
Captain Birdseye was in last week.
He was.
He was.
You are.
Someone broke down. Yeah, more Das Boot than fish fingers.
Yeah. It was a bit Das Boot, actually.
That
He
was
says,
very
I totally forgot about the filmer sound. You guys got the speaker to work? He says, it's completely shot. I didn't have time to change it prior to deploying in 2021. Thank you for featuring it. Well, thank you, Joe. Blimey.
mate.
And we're sorry it took so long. I think we blew one of the mains fuses in the step-down transformer.
Yeah.
And then didn't really know where to start with fixing it. So anyway, we finally did it. But good shout on the speaker. We're going to listen to some other stuff.
Look
There
at
it
that.
is.
There it is.
Look how big it is.
It's massive.
Absolutely ginormous.
Wow. Okay. Oh, and that's wow. So that's right
Yeah.
at the bottom of the Arctic Ocean. That must be absolutely freezing. I
Pretty-
couldn't do it.
Pretty cold up there.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Not
Not exactly
too bad.
massively warm down here, but
No. That would be. I mean, I have hard enough time here,
yeah.
and the weather lately has been so. We had a cold snap last week, and I'm just walking around going, "Stupid cold snap! It's cold all the time. It's cold."
Anyway, Joe continues. If I remember correctly, I did a power amp in for use with valve preamps.
Yes, you did.
The output transformer is particularly sought after. The code dates it at 1950.
Far out, man.
The 6v6s are original.
Wow.
And maybe out of spec by now. Okay, Joe, we're going to spend a bit more time with it and try a different speaker and stuff. And
Yeah, it is the coolest.
It is
coolest
pretty
amp.
cool. It is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But thank you, Joe. Thank you so much, mate. And thank you for the tube screamer. I've plugged it in. I need to talk to you about it because it's making a funny noise. But another time. Matt McGrath. He says, I saw that Earthquaker Devices is reissuing the white light, one of my favourite overdrive pedals.
Wow.
I suggest people pick one up if they're able to. Also got to see Unwound in New York last night. Amazing band akin to Fugazi and Mogwai.
Oh wow.
Do we call that post rock or is that not fair?
Post central, pre, forward rock.
Post hardcore.
Post hardcore.
According to Wikipedia.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's music.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's important to infinitesimally categorise these things, Dan, so people can identify with it and
I
form a
know.
tribe around it.
Yeah, I know.
Otherwise, what have you got?
Indeed.
People getting on. Can't have that. Nice one, Matt. So the white light. Yeah, never played one. We should.
Yeah.
We love
totally.
Earthquaker. Everything they do is flipping brilliant.
Yep.
Iron Wolf 1776. Hello, gents.
G'day, mate.
I just want you to know that over the weekend I replaced my Tube Screamer Mini with a TS808. I cannot believe how different they sound. The 808 is absolutely astounding with my Strats.
So is that a reissue 808?
Yeah.
Yeah. they're just
We thought the
little
Mini
ones.
was pretty good actually,
Yeah.
but then we plug my 1 Keeley one in every now and again, and it just
Even
you like it,
like that one immensely.
Yeah.
In my Keeley CE2, there it is.
Yeah. Lots of people saying Greenland isn't that big. It's mostly ice. It says Greenland is mostly ice and Iceland is mostly green.
Okay.
Yeah. There was a
Okay.
Frankie Holt said that. There was quite a funny meme on Instagram last week to that effect.
I'd be stunned if there was a funny meme.
Can we still call them memes? Is that allowed?
I don't know.
Or are they identifying as
Cancelled.
reels now?
Oh, who knows?
Yeah.
Right. And that's enough of that.
Yeah. Anyway, apparently Greenland's not that big. It's a lot bigger than the UK. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Dank Asian Snacks says, film sound. Is it a 385? No, it's not. It's just, to be fair, it's in a film sound box. The amp itself, I think, is a Dumblized Tweed Deluxe.
Have you spent any amount of time in Asia, apart from when we went to Japan? But
No, Japan is the only place I've been east.
so, okay, I lived in Singapore for like 18 months. And,
Oh, I did get off a plane in Singapore, but didn't get out of the airport.
okay, so it doesn't really count.
No.
But I lived in Singapore for like 18 months, so 2 years, and lived in Beijing for 9 months, I think. And the snacks in Asia are amazing.
Example?
So they have this treat where they have a massive block of ice and they chip the ice and then they get condensed milk and they pour it over the chipped ice with some other flavourings and stuff and put it all up together, and it's like they're just unreal. And then there's this,
Like a slushy.
yeah, but it's not really, because it's like they put a lot of condensed milk in like everything, and it's not.
Well, it's very sweet, isn't it?
It's very sweet, but
We used to call it Ideal Milk here because that was the brand, I think.
yeah,
I don't know, that's the same thing. Might be.
but you can.
It's the kind of thing you were forced to eat when you were poor in the 70s. Check.
Yeah, hello, snap. I just remember walking in food markets and stuff, and it is so opposite to anything that
right.
you've experienced before, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
I've got no idea what any of this stuff is, and I could eat the lot.
Just
it
have
just
at it.
looks, it just go, just shut your eyes and start going.
Okay, all Asian snacks greatly received. Nice one, Iron Wolf. Anyway, hope you enjoy the TS tones. They're not for everyone. And they sound radically different into different amps, lest we not forget that.
Indeed. Oh, we do need to do a bit of housekeeping before I forget.
We do. Patrons.
Patrons.
Patrons on Patreon. Thank you. This month's giveaway is a Boss RC500 loop station.
Amazing.
The email will go out tomorrow. So all active patrons tomorrow will get the email. It's an RC500 loop station. Look at that. Still got a tagger on it. And yes, you can win that and loop to your heart's content.
Indeed.
That probably means something really bad in French, doesn't it? Content is what I meant. Not content. That's something different. That's what we do.
Gnarlbone Guitar says, Legends, what happened to Captain Birdseye Maple? Arr.
He got lost at sea.
He did. He
Yeah.
did. It's a sad story.
It is sad. Strapped himself on the front of a huge thing, started singing Celine Dion, and that was that. He was under the waves before we knew it.
He did.
He was like,
here. I need to get home. I know a shortcut. It's icy, but it's quick.
It's quick. Wherever you are. He's not a pirate. I know he's not a pirate. I think he did say a Harmy Hearties, didn't he?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But he also said in that one hand, "Here you go, kids. I'm gonna go sort out your mom."
Yeah, I'm going to go and have a word with your mum. That little eyebrow goes up.
Oh, God bless 70s advertising.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. Well, it's,
Oh, so
it's how
funny.
we learn to be so inappropriate these
Indeed.
days, isn't it?
Indeed.
We're paying for it, Dan.
Indeed.
We're paying for it. Anyway, Jason Thompson. Hello, Jason. Legends. Got a refinish on my 89 USA Strat. Guy asked me if I wanted a protective ceramic coat. I said sure. I swear it changed the sound in an unpleasant way. Feels spiky now. Is that crazy?
No,
that
not
sounds
crazy.
entirely logical.
Yep, not crazy at all. Ceramic is like really tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, that's very interesting.
Without speculating about any physics and getting my digital self metaphorically beat to shreds. Yeah. Oh God, I can't even say. Can't say what I think. I'll get hammered. But yes, we're not surprised by that at all.
So my experience, I was back in the 90s when I was touring a lot. I had bought a Strat Plus, and it was a black Strat Plus, and that's when I put the Seymour Duncan Invader, and
It's getting better.
it was fantastic. And then the bass player I was working with, who's like a really close friend, and we lived together at Bondi at the time, and he had this bass made that it was just bare wood covered in tung oil. And I thought, yeah, this is... And
how do you apply it? Well, how do you think?
so he said, oh, what you should do is strip all the paint off the body and the neck, and take the whole thing back to bare wood, and we'll tung oil it. And I went, yeah, great. And before I did it, the guitar was amazing. And I started sanding off the finishes like, oh dear, this isn't going to work.
Yeah, foot thick.
It was just crazy. So I ended up getting paint stripper and did all that stuff. Sanded it all back and got the tung oil on it. And I picked it up and played the first chord and went...
Yeah, thud.
It was that.
Dead.
All of the sustain, and I couldn't play legato lines on it anymore. It was like... Ding. It was ridiculous. And I will never forget that. Because if you had told me before that moment, this will make that much difference, I wouldn't have believed you.
Yeah.
Because we had pickups there and anything. But it was astonishing. It was an entirely different guitar.
It's only
just
the
because of
pickup.
finish.
Only the
It's only
pickup makes any difference.
Only the pickup.
Yeah, so no, Jason, we're not surprised by that at all. I mean, coming from a perspective of relative old fartism, nothing but nitro point of view, which is where I am. I don't want a guitar that has any other finish than that.
Because it's unknown. It's like...
Why you would make the finish harder makes no sense to me. It's one of the reasons I don't like G&L guitars very much. I had 2 or 3 G&Ls down the years, and my God, I tried to make that damn thing look old. And every time I hit it with something, it would just crack instead of wearing. Now, the counter argument to that is I like my guitar looking pristine and new, and I want it to be hard. So if it gets any knocks, then they won't necessarily do too much damage. And that the G&L, I ended up hitting it with a hammer, and it barely would break.
Right. That's amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess if you want to keep your guitars all nice and shiny and perfect, but yeah, that is going to have a tonal effect. Whether you think it's positive or negative, well, that's the subjective part. So
Henning Hess says you can do a high gloss finish with tung oil. Just put 7 or 8 coats on it. Sounds okay. I put loads on it. It wasn't. It was just the difference. It wasn't that it sounded good or bad. I just couldn't believe the difference that it made. And maybe it didn't cure properly between coats, whatever.
My dad's on. He says, ideal milk is evaporated, condensed is totally different. Thanks, Dad.
There we go. Hang on, what's your dad's?
Brian Taylor. Please don't give my dad hassle, all right?
There he is. Hey, Brian. How are you, mate? Saw some videos of you two out doing your thing, and I love your dad's voice.
He's a good singer.
He's a great singer.
You're a good singer, Dad. You've got a nice voice.
He does. Very nice.
Just say that in front of everyone.
There's an authenticity to his voice, and it's got that lovely deep roll to it, which is really nice.
It's cost a lot of cigarettes, that voice.
Have you watched the Elvis movie, the new Elvis movie?
Yeah.
I really liked it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was too much about the Colonel for me.
Yeah, but it was from his perspective, which I thought was an interesting way to do it. But I didn't know about Elvis and B.B. King. I didn't know about that relationship and the whole Beale Street thing.
There was loads of stuff I didn't know about.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
My sort of friend Sarah Davey, who I've done a gig or two with, and I know through Neville, she did some of the vocals on that film.
No,
Which is pretty mad. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Zupa Lewis says, "Dan, what did you do with that Strat?" So that was the Strat that I ended up touring with in Asia, and I
Just
remember
got covered in snacks.
condensed milk everywhere, and I remember taking a file and I filed away to like get up to the top frets because the Strat Plus had 22 frets. But you just couldn't get to them.
Yeah.
So I got
This
a rasp.
story is just...
It's amazing.
It started bad and it's just getting worse and worse and worse.
And anyway,
we all did
sold
stuff like
it.
that, by the
Sold
way.
it.
Back in the day, we all did
for
stuff
almost
like that.
nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. But then I suppose that was what you went through there was your own genesis of the customised S-type guitar, isn't it? Keep going.
Absolutely.
Stick a hole in the front, you'd have had a gem.
Yeah. Well, I'd had one of those.
Actually, that had 24 frets, didn't it?
Yes. Scroll up to the last four.
Justin Baylog. Hello, Justin. He says, "Howdy, sirens of the Tone Sea." Foghorns, more like. I'm looking for an Octave Fuzz to hit a clipping amp that plays well with low output humbuckers. Thanks so much, TPS fam. Octave Fuzz. We've got quite a few Octave Fuzzes that we like. The one I use is the Mythos Argo.
Focus. Come on. There you go. Look at that beautiful thing.
It doesn't look like that anymore. The artwork's changed. But what I like about... So the Argo is a take on the old Prescription Electronics Clean Octave Blend. Clean Octave Boost? Clean Octave Blend? Cobb, anyway. It's the one that Doyle Bramwell likes. Therefore, it's the one that I like.
That's written in the mixed contract.
And it's quite a different experience than your sort of Hendrixy Octavia. So if you want a Hendrixy Octavia, then go for one of those that's more like that. But I like that because it's a bit more controllable and you can blend in the clean so it doesn't get too unruly. What I also discovered just recently, if you turn the blend down to 0, it is a fantastic boost.
Yeah, right.
Really great clean boost. So that's what I would recommend. They do a little one called the Argonaut, which is different. Still sounds cool, only has one knob on it. I would go for that one.
Yep.
What
Scott
else?
Gaylor says the Keeley Wolf is amazing. I don't know that one.
Yeah, I haven't tried that one.
There's a bunch of them. I mean, if you look back at the Tycho Brahe Octave and the one that
Crazy Tube Circuits do a good one.
yes. Yeah.
I think it's called something. It's got some sort of Jimmy reference in the name of the pedal
Yeah.
for that sort of sound. But yeah, I'd go that. I'd go the
With Roger Mayer.
yeah,
It's great.
all the Mayer stuff for obvious reasons because he, was there when the original Hendrix ones happened.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, that's what I would suggest.
Yep.
The Argo by Mythos. Good. Dylan Croft. Hello, Dylan. He says, "Thanks for helping to illuminate the path of my tone journey
Oh, bless you.
with your knowledge, humour and humanity. Long live TPS." That's very kind of you to say, Dylan. Thank you. Humour. I like the humour bit. Humanity.
Yeah. Humanity.
I know some humans.
Humans I have known. By Mick Taylor.
Thank you, Dylan. High mileage douchebag. This is good.
Hang on. So these are the names of their YouTube accounts. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Brilliant. I need to find what high mileage douchebag does.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm hoping you've got some sort of gas guzzling automobile and get
Just V8s everywhere.
looked at badly at the school gate with all the trendy people turning up in their Teslas. That happens. Are there skill and speed limitations to those who start guitar in their 40s versus those who start young, even if we practice lots? Do you have any tips for oldies?
Yes. So I am going to do a vlog on this because I have upped my practice regime considerably over the past year. And I am seeing results, but I'm not seeing results like I did when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And it's a very different thing. But there's a couple of ways, a couple of things that if you nail them to start with, it'll make moving forward a lot easier. But yeah, it is a different thing. However, it doesn't mean that you can't make progress. You absolutely can make wonderful progress.
Yes, 100%. There is, I'm sure I've heard it said, and this is speculation, not fact, that the brain is slightly less malleable as you get older, and new information is harder to take in and retain. I don't know if I really believe that, but people say it. I think a lot of these things end up being narratives for why you can't do something.
You know, so there was a really fascinating study done where there was they grabbed a bunch of 90-year-olds who'd never done accounting before, and they gave them accounts from these like Fortune 500 companies and got them to learn accounting and do these forensic. And what they found was their brains, the section of their brains they needed to do it actually grew to take that into account.
Yeah, right.
And it's not that thing where, yes, the synapses and that we get so used to in our whatever that we're doing that as we're a kid, we're exploring everything and our brain's just going, yeah, bring it on.
And it's also not, you don't get burdened down with all the extra stuff.
All the stuff that life brings on.
When you're a kid, you just have the abandon of giving your whole... But I think probably, I don't know about you, Dan, but one thing I find if I'm playing the guitar, I got half an eye on playing the guitar, the other half on the dog, and the other eye on what am I supposed to be doing that I am not doing at this moment.
Yes.
So a quarter of my brain is in it, truthfully, because the rest of my brain is worrying about all the things that I'm not doing. And you don't have that as a kid.
Yes, exactly that.
So I think if you can give yourself to it, that would be my advice. Put the time aside and find a way of giving yourself to it totally.
Yes.
Also, this is going to sound crazy. Don't be results driven.
Yeah, that's great.
Be process driven. Right? It's not about goal. It's not about the goal. How many people realistically enter some sort of sporting race with the intention of winning it? That's the goal, right? Most of them, I would hope. Otherwise, why would you enter? But a proportion of them are going to want to win. The person who's going to win is the one that has the process.
Yeah.
Is the one that does the work, is the one that does those little, and I'm going to use the phrase atomic habits because this is the book that it comes from. Doing the right thing, getting your process right, getting your system right, and doing it religiously. Doing it no matter what, and focusing on that task at that moment, not that task over there, which you may never get to.
Yeah.
So don't make it about results, make it about process. The other thing that's really cool about that is that if you enjoy that moment of what you're doing and you give yourself entirely to that moment and what you're doing at that moment, it will also be enjoyable. Whereas if your focus is the result, you'll want to get rid of this moment because it's not enjoyable because you're not at the result. So all those analogies, takes one step to walk a mile, etc., etc. That's what it is. The thing you're doing right now gets your whole attention. Tiny, tiny little incremental improvements. 2 years down the line, you will not believe how far you progress.
Yeah, totally.
There you go. That's my advice. Bit cerebral, but there we are.
I like it.
That's the kind of
guy.
that's the kind of mood I'm in, Dan. Good luck. Good luck. Age is not a barrier.
It really isn't.
Especially not 40. Although 40s, that could be 40. I'm going to be 49 tomorrow.
Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah. I've actually, to be fair, I find learning easier now than I did when I was 25.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because my ear's better.
Yeah, okay.
Because I can hear now.
Yeah.
And I've got more knowledge of technique, so I kind of know what to work on. I have never and will never either want or be able to play like Paul Gilbert kind of amazing.
Yeah.
You know, I don't, that's not something that I would give time to. I might get better at it. I don't think I'd ever be great at it. But I know what would need to be done in order to do that.
Yes.
Whereas when I was 25, I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
yeah.
But you also, you also, I've got a clearer picture of what I want to be able to do, or the direction that I want to head in. It's less scattergun than I was when I was a kid. However, when I was a kid, I didn't have the stress of life, and I just absolutely absorbed and I was just so into guitar, there was nothing else.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And that's the thing that happens when you're young. But just because you have a life, there's absolutely no reason that you can't keep kicking goals.
Yeah. I totally agree. Robert Payne and John O'Neill, if you practice religiously, be careful with the candles. And John says, how do you do something religiously if you're an atheist? Sorry, John, it's just a turn of phrase. I mean systematically as well.
There we go. Very good.
And actually, with spiritual connection, I would say, but don't worry about which God. Just be in that moment. That's all the spirit you need.
Very good.
Right, Greg Sachs, leg ends. I've run into a song that I just cannot seem to sing while playing. Any tips, techniques, wisdom on the subject? P.S. The QMX6 has been...
Oh, bless you. Thank you, mate.
That was an emoji, obviously.
That's great. Thank you so much.
What song is it? Come on. You got to tell us what song it is. There's some I'll never be able to do.
Okay. First thing you need to do, learn the song so that you can A, play it without thinking about it, and B, sing it without thinking about it. Trying to...
Kim, this is a wave to Greenland.
It's far away, so it's a big wave. It's so much harder if you've got to try and think of lyrics and, try and remember melodies and stuff. Just make sure that you absolutely know it before you start trying to put them together. And then chunk it. Like, take that part of the verse, start with your chord and just, if it's, just do one chord at a time before you even start changing stuff. And then just sing the melody.
It's I Got Mine by the Black Keys.
Okay.
I'm going to have a listen to that.
All right.
Yeah, but Dan's right. Chunking is what you need.
Yeah. Have you ever juggled?
I can't. No.
Right.
I mean, I can do 3 balls for about 25 seconds.
Right. Probably better than I can. However, there was a time when you couldn't do any balls for 25 seconds.
Yeah.
Right? And you throw your first ball in the air. It's like, I'll never be able to do this. But you just, right, that's one ball. Okay, learn how to do one ball. And then the second ball. It will come. Don't be too hard on yourself. Just, give yourself some time to do it.
I'm trying not to play it too loud so we don't get demonetized.
Okay.
So it's like a manic depression groove.
Okay. Octave Fuzz. So sing over that riff, right?
Don't know. I'm no singing yet.
Okay.
Yeah, that's hard.
Okay. So start going.
He's in E.
E. Just play E. And every now and then see if you can just get the octave. And just get it in time.
Yeah, that's really hard because some of the singing's on the upbeat as well.
Yeah, right.
Dan's suggestion is brilliant. Play the riff when it's riffing, but just let it drone when you do the singing. And 2 things will happen there. One is, even though it's not exactly how the record goes, the singing will come through more clearly.
Yeah.
Because if you're like every other band in the world, the vocals are never loud enough and too dull.
Yeah. You don't Yeah, if you've got a bass player playing the riff and you're going while you're singing,
Yeah.
and then just come back in with,
And then you can play the fusion version.
I like it. I like
Awesome. They make some good noises, don't they? Flipping heck.
it. Yeah.
Flipping heck.
I hope that helps. I really do.
Yeah. I find that learning a song by playing and singing it all at once locks it in as a single entity rather than learning to play it and sing it separately. Scott, that is very true.
Mm.
And it works a bit like chunking letters together.
Yep.
So BMW, what does that stand for? Bavarian Motor
Bavarian
Works.
Motor Works.
BMW is not three things, is it? It's one thing.
Yes.
And that's a cognitive function that happens. You chunk that together and it becomes one piece of information, not three.
Okay.
And I think there's something in that, Scott, where it becomes a single act, the singing and the playing. And I know what you mean, because I'm not sure, there's a couple of things that I'm not sure I could play without singing them.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I guess the point is if you've never done it before, because it's a skill that you learn, if you've never done it before, like for me, it would help knowing the riff, knowing the vocal, and then just taking it one step at a time. Because so there's a mechanic in play. Once you're used to singing and playing, right, then everything's sort of in sync and you understand how it all works. And then it's a lot easier to get your singing head and your that in sync. If you haven't done it before though.
Yeah, almost muscle memory, isn't it?
Yeah.
And like anything, some of the cognitive barriers to doing it get removed, like inhibition and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you're less caught up in your own head about it, and you can let it flow a bit more.
Yes.
And then when you start thinking about it, is when it starts going wrong. I find.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Sometimes we do Life in the Fast Lane with that pedal show band, and I've done it in bands before, and I cannot play the riff and sing Life in the Fast Lane. Cannot do it.
Tricky. It's tricky. Yeah.
But I can do. There's some other fairly complex stuff I can do, like Taxman, Manic Depression. But that's easy because that's ba-da-da-da-da, manic depression.
So
it's almost in time.
Yeah, right.
Anyway.
Black Keys Mark II on guitar, Mick Taylor. He wrote this. Thank you, Elias Bloom.
Joel Harbriel, and I hope we've said that right, Joel. Hello from New Hampshire, New Hampshire, USA. I just got a 2x15 cab with EVM 15Ls.
Wow.
Where do you live? I'm sending a truck round to steal it. That is a holy grail.
I thought he said, where do you live? I'm like, oh my God, he's going to send him to us. But no, okay. You said, where do you live? We're coming round. Right.
That is holy grail, mate. What are your thoughts on wet, dry, wet using a cab with a stereo wet cab? Will the stereo field be too small to be worth the trouble?
No, not at all. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It really is awesome.
It can be amazing.
Yeah.
And especially if you're in the unlikely situation of being able to mic it up and put it through a PA, then you'll really hear it. But
we're doing a show tomorrow on some stereo stuff.
Hence this cobblers here, two Bareface 112s, two Rev G20s, the ones that Joey used on his last tour, and a centre amp, which happens to be a, long story short, a Fender Bassman 212.
Which is rather delightful.
Yeah, it's called a Bass Breaker. It's a custom shop amp from the early 2000s. Anyway, and we shall be doing stereo stuff. But as Dan says, that's how I run it in I've got a 212 Mesa vertical cab with EVs, and that's how I run that.
Yeah. Funnily enough, when Andy Timmons was out here last time and we toured, Andy used that cab when we filmed in here. And we were looking at, his rig and some EVs and stuff. And we tried the stereo thing with the two Lone Stars. We try them left and right. And then we put them through the boogie, sort of line array style. And it just sounded flippin' massive.
Did sound good.
I really like it. I love that. It's a different thing, but it's very, very good.
Yeah. Yeah. Notwithstanding, if you put two speakers, I don't know, 10 feet apart or 8 feet apart, then yes, you will perceive the stereo field as being slightly wider the closer you are to it. So, of course,
Yeah.
can be more fun having them spread, but vertical is great. It's a good
Vertical
sound.
is great. It's great. Yeah.
Legends says Gareth P. Hello, Gareth.
Hello,
I'm
Gareth.
adding a QMX6 to my board.
Oh, bless you.
What are the best straight jacks to use for the send and returns? I solder my own cables
Oh, brilliant.
in the UK.
So, the square plugged ones are fantastic. They do a mini version, which is nice. But Switchcraft, Neutrik, they're all great.
What are those little stubby ones
yeah,
that Pete Thorne had?
Yeah, they're square plugs.
Are they?
Yeah.
They were great.
They're really, really great. So the only issue, this is not a lot of space inside.
Yeah.
So
You've got to have
you
your
need
solder
to make
game
sure
on.
your soldering's neat and that your cable, where you pinch the cable inside.
That you crimp it off cleanly.
Yeah, just got to make sure that everything's neat and yeah. But they're really good. We've got we use those at work a lot. Yeah, they're great.
And what was that brand name again, Dan?
Square plugs.
Square plugs.
Yeah.
Oh, I think my sister's on again.
Michelle.
Michelle. Yeah. Hello, Michelle. I've just seen someone say hello to you, and I can't find your comment. Anyway, if you're here, hello. Nice to hear from you again. Todd Roy says, Mick or Dan, are you thinking of going to the Clapton and Friends Jeff Beck tribute at Royal Albert Hall next? I would love to go to that.
Yeah.
I saw Doyle post about it, and I was like, how on earth are we going to get tickets for that? But I may go in the queue.
Yeah.
We'll
yeah.
see. I think they'll sell out in a nanosecond.
It's really interesting. Jeff Beck, I never saw Jeff play. Even though Jeff had like gear that we made on his board for like flipping 20 years. And he was one of those artists that I thought, I always thought I'll get around to seeing him. And it's so stupid. But it's like when I saw BB King later in life, and BB, when he was older, there was a sense of frailty about him, and that Jeff just looked like he hadn't changed, hadn't aged in 40 years, you know? He just looked amazing.
Yeah, BB was in his 80s, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So
But
he was a
just
bit older.
Yeah, he was. But I just didn't get that sense from Jeff that you need to go and see him. And I'm still gutted that I never got to see him play.
Yeah.
Because boy, what? Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I would love to go to that gig. Would love to go.
Would be great. Would be totally great. G Barge, hello G.
G'day, G.
Nice to hear from you, G, and thank you as always for your generosity. He says, "Dear gents, no question, just happy to hang with the TPS gang during another gale here in Northern California.
Wow.
Very glad Darwin didn't appear at our niece's wedding on Saturday and shear another 30 feet of cliff into the sea."
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I remember after one NAMM, we drove Highway 1, is it maybe? The one that goes from up the coast from Los Angeles to San Francisco.
Right.
And it was after a couple of the fires and the landslides that had ensued. It was,
Oh my goodness.
you know, you see that stuff on the TV and, you know, that is one effect. And you see it with your own eyes. It's like, oh my God. Really, really. Anyway, G, glad it all went well. Glad you're well. And nice to hear from you.
Yeah, buddy.
And congratulations to your niece. KJ Photo. New pedal day. I wanted more control of my live acoustic sound, so I got an LR Bag Session and EQ pedals and a TC Hall of Fame too. Happy days. Cheers from the Big Apple.
Lovely. The LR bag stuff is so good.
Yeah, we like that little preamp that had the overdrive in it.
Yeah.
It sounded great, didn't it?
Really nice. Really
Yeah.
nice.
Myth Sticks. Legends. Says Chris Waters, I'm loving my new Memphis 335, but wonder if you ever get imposter syndrome living up to a great piece of gear. Much love and thanks. Yeah, we do.
Of course.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I had it with my strap for
You
a minute.
did. I remember.
For a minute.
It's like, do I really deserve this? I'm like, far out, man. If you don't, no one in the world does. But you don't. It is a really interesting thing when that little thing that sits on your shoulder that so many of us live with starts having a go. It's like,
if you want a bit of philosophy, you just got to recognise it for what it is, which is your ego. It's psychological time. It's your ego causing mischief, trying to be in charge, trying to run the game, and you've just got to stand aside from it. Tell it to shut up. Give it a name if you like. But any of those negative thoughts, regret, worry, anger, resentment, any of that negativity is all your ego basically trying to cause trouble in getting you out of this moment of enjoyment and just trying to be in charge. So you just got to put it to one side and say, let's call it Kevin, with apologies to all Kevins. And you just say, Kevin, you get over there and you shut your gob and just look at Kevin and tell Kevin to shut up. And Kevin will shut up and go away, and you'll be free to enjoy your guitar without any of that psychological crap. It's something that I've been experiencing more of in recent months and years, Daniel, and it's extremely effective, and you just start not worrying about any of that stuff.
Yeah, right.
Because it eats up your life.
Yeah.
Every moment you miss is a moment you've missed. So don't miss it.
Keep going.
Every moment you miss is a moment you've missed. This is Mixed Philosophy Hour. Tell Kevin to do one. Say, Kevin, you can go over there. Stop trying to cause trouble in my brain. I neither deserve nor do not deserve this guitar. It just is. The guitar simply is. It is neither good nor bad. I neither deserve nor do not deserve. It simply is. Thank you. Good night. Oh, that was nice.
Like that?
That was really nice.
I was due.
Yeah. No resistance, no judgment, no attachment. Those are the three things that you can stop doing. Don't resist what is. Don't judge it. Don't get attached to it.
Yeah. No, resistance is a short circuit.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. Love that guitar. I get it with my car. I changed my car this year because the old car conked out. So I got a car that's slightly newer than I would normally get and slightly nicer than I would normally get. And I get in it and I keep thinking it's a hire car.
Right. Yeah, because So we had.
I've never had good cars. I've always spent my money on guitars and amps and stuff, and never been that interested in cars, to be honest. But I bought a slightly better car this year, and it is like a hire car.
Old Wood Smells Good says, support Kevin.
No, Kevin
Can do one.
Kevin, right?
Let's call it something else. Call it
K-Dog.
K-Dog, or the Melder, or something.
Something that's not what. Yeah, whatever name you give it is the cause of all suffering. All suffering. Tell it to do one.
Michael Hennessy says, Mick, man, that hits right now. I'm going through it now tremendously. It's actually, you know what, Michael? Me too. It's Mick and I have been talking about this stuff for a long time. Mick has been a lot better at putting into practice than I am. But yeah, it's sort of getting to the point now where I need to start really focusing on that stuff. That's it's very good. I've seen Mick's journey with this over the past number of years, and it's truly inspiring.
Yeah, Zigbert D is, thank you, Dan. Zigbert D is kind of right. He says, telling Kevin to shut up is not a good idea. Better to say, yeah, Kevin, I hear you, and I can understand why you feel that way. but don't worry, I got your back, we're good. I don't really agree with that. Yes, Kevin, I hear you. That's it. No attachment, no judgment, nothing.
Right.
Just look at Kevin.
Okay.
Just no judgment. Because it's what happens is not the problem. If your leg falls off, right, let's say your leg falls off, your leg's fallen off.
Right.
No amount of you going, oh no, my leg's fallen off, is going to change the fact your leg's fallen off.
Okay.
So it's not the leg falling off that's, well, obviously there is a problem because you need to get it fixed pretty quick. But wallowing in, oh no, my leg's fallen off, that's the weight.
Yeah, right.
What happens, it's all the judgment, worry, resentment, anger, and everything you hang on the problem that's the weight. The problem just is what it is.
Yep. Dan K says, Dan, don't beat yourself up though. You're a good player and you'll only just get better as you practice more. Actually, it wasn't about my playing. Now it is. No, thank you, mate. Thank you. That's very kind. Yeah. And Bill Barfoot says, Mick, Albert Ellis would be proud.
Thanks. I don't know who Albert Ellis is, but thank you, Bill.
Scott Lennon says, I hate it when my legs fall off.
All you need is a roll of gaffer tape. That'll sort you out.
Todd Royce says, so is there an episode with Lee and Pete from when they dropped by, or was it just a friendly visit? No, there is an episode with Lee and Pete.
There is. Scott Etheridge, unclear advice, my leg has fallen off. I've had worse. Tis but a scratch, says Leylandberg. There is an episode. We were going to put it on Friday. We can't because there's something on the board that we're not entirely sure if it can be seen or not. So we're just clearing that.
Biding our time.
Yeah.
Biding our time.
Yeah. So we're just waiting to see if that is the case or not. Yeah, your leg falling off wasn't a good example. Yeah, all of that comes from Eckhart Tolle, by the way. It's nothing to do with me. It's all from Eckhart Tolle, and the dude talks a lot of sense. So if you're interested, I recommend it. Back to the super chai.
Back to the chai. Back to the super chai.
It was G, wasn't it?
It was G.
Oh no, God, we're much further on than I thought. Savas Athanasides, who I'm assuming is somewhere in Europe. I'm running 2 amps with a Boss GT1000 core, and it's noisy.
Mm-hmm.
I experimented with the grounding internally on the pedal, and it doesn't help. What can I do?
So you can't just remove the ground from a pedal. The ground is still your negative. The ground is the reference that, if you can imagine your signal and the current moving through, imagine you've got a sine wave moving through. Well, it's only that voltage is only a voltage because you've got the ground reference. It's got to be referenced to something. And then, and that's just measuring it. And that's how the current, if you don't have negative, if you don't have the ground there, that reference, then it won't help. So you need like something that isolates it. Not just removing the ground. Removing the ground is a terrible idea. So you need something that will take the input and isolate it, and isolating the ground from the other side, from the other output, and then that will fix the problem.
Mm. Yeah, there you go. And what could you do? How would you do that?
You can use something that has an isolated transformer. You can use like an ABY pedal. We make a thing called the Humdinger, which was basically built for that exact job. But there's a number of things that you can do it with.
Also, apologies if you said this. I was reading some of the comments. You need to be sure about what the noise is.
Yeah, that's very true.
Because what Dan has just been talking about is a ground loop. And you'll know if it's a ground loop because if you turn your guitar down and everything else down, you'll still have the loop, right? You'll still have the noise.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So turn your guitar down, and if the noise persists, it's a ground loop hum, which you can eliminate with isolation. If, however, the noise could be coming from elsewhere, it could just be bad RF. So, you've got the guitar up, you've got loads of gain on, or even not RF. It could just be loads of noise from the fact you've got loads of gain from the pedal. And the way to check that is unplug the second amp. And if the noise is still there with only one amp, then the noise is coming from another source.
And that's a way to do it. And what you could also do, unplug the second amp, right? If noise disappears, don't plug the pedal in, just touch the earth onto the input jack. And that'll create the earth loop as well. And you'll hear the noise come through the system. It's more tricky because you've basically got an open circuit there. But yeah, if by unplugging the second amplifier gets rid of the noise, plug the second amplifier back in and unplug the first amplifier. And if that also gets rid of the noise, earth loop.
There you go. Mr. Baker says, Mick, does that advice count towards putting new pickups in your 335?
I'd like that.
It absolutely does.
If I can say, if Mick hadn't gone through all of this stuff, that guitar would be in splinters.
It would either be in splinters or it would be in the case not finished. Because what you do is when you start feeling all that anger and resentment and all of that, you recognise it for what it is. It's your ego.
Yeah, right.
Feeling diminished. It's you feel beaten by a situation because you've added all this baggage onto it and you've gone, oh, I can't do this, I'm so rubbish, right? And there was a bit of that in the video, to be fair. I'm not saying I'm fully skilled in this yet. It's a progress, right? Work of progress. But that clarity enables you to go, it just is what it is. This has happened. Don't judge it. Don't react. Don't get attached to it. What does this next moment require? Calm. Focus. Job in hand. Don't get sucked off into, oops, don't get... Don't get taken away. Don't get taken away into psychological time. Sorry about that.
Never apologise.
Don't get taken away into psychological time. Stay in the moment. It is what it is. It's neither good, bad, or otherwise. It just is. Okay, let's try and move on, shall we? Yeah, Michael Nielsen. Yeah, brilliant. Oops, says Casey Cole. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. James Moody. Yeah, I know, mate. I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
We have 1,000 people watching us at the moment.
Good.
And bearing witness to that wonderful moment. So thank you all for joining us. That was great.
Yes. Bullseye, Mick. Yeah, I know. G. I've been working on this for a long time now, and it's starting to fall into place.
Yeah. Here's the tricky thing. The tricky thing is...
Got a horrifying image of Kevin, says Oliver Boyson. Kevin's having a lovely time, I think. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Now that's a T-shirt, says Gordon Syme. Yeah, what a way to demonetize the live stream. I do hope not, Travis. I do hope not. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Tim Chalmers. Hello, Tim.
Hello, Tim.
How are you? Nice to hear from you, mate. He says, my first ever Strat, new guitar day, my first ever Strat after playing for 57 years. It's a slightly used player HSS.
Oh, nice.
Lots of fun tones with the JHS Emperor that I won in January.
Nice. Oh, wicked. Well done, mate.
How to get glassy tones. Delay, reverb and tumness. Right, glassy. I don't know what amp you've got, but glass is always going to be difficult with the humbucker.
Yep.
I don't know what humbucker it is, but the sort of general nature of a humbucker is to round off be much more mid-present. So what you would associate with glass, I mean, what does that mean? It means presence. It means probably frequencies 5K up, I would say. I would call this glass.
Yeah, and also a nice quick attack, nothing too spongy.
Yeah, hard, good. So I would go for position 4, middle and neck, and I would imagine on your guitar they are RWRP reverse wound, reverse polarity. They tend to be on most modern Strats, which means you'll get even more of a little mid duck there, and that will be a nice place to be. If you've got an amp with a bright switch, turn it on. You want to run your treble and presence on the amp nice and high. And that, with a clean sound, that should be fairly glassy. What you might find is if you roll the volume down, it will go off a little bit because, as we know, traditional Strats, turn the volume down, you also lose a lot of high end in the way that the tone network dumps high end to ground, blah, blah, blah. To improve that, you could install a treble bleed, or easier, much easier, turn your tumness on and turn the gain down to 0 and turn the tone up.
I think the tumness is... I don't think the tumness is true bypass. It's either the tumness or the Roira.
Oh, okay. So
Because
just have it plugged in then.
Yeah, because the original Klein isn't true bypass. It's buffered all the time. And most copies of that circuit have kept it true to the original.
You are absolutely correct, Daniel.
There we go. Because it's a big part of that sound, right? People were putting clones on their board going, well, it just makes everything sound better, even when it's off. It's like, okay, there's a buffer in your rig
That's
now,
why, and
that would help.
So that, just have the tumness in line. Don't even need to turn it on. That should buffer it up, get a bit of extra glass. What it's doing is it's all the capacitance that exists in your cable runs and through the various switches of the pedals and stuff. It's making it much easier for that capacitance to be driven, and you don't lose so much high end. So a buffer if you want glassy with a Strat, a buffer's a really good thing to add. And that should do you.
Yeah.
That should do you. It should be glassy enough.
Yep.
Everything on 10. 10, 10, 10, 10.
Henning Hess says 1 meg pots for the humbucker glass. It's interesting. I've tried a number of 1 meg pots in humbuckers. I've never found a 1 meg pot that I thought sounded any good.
Yeah, it's not for me personally.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if you've got a really overwound humbucker that's very, very high output and gainy and has got those like crazy amount of mid and bottom end, then maybe a 1 meg pot. But for the kind of humbuckers that Dan and I like, which tend to be, PAF style, either underwound or fairly bright and airy sounding, 500k is more than enough.
Scott Lennon says buffer in, buffer out. Not necessarily, Scott. If you're with the gain stages that react, it depends on the gain stages, right? If you've got very sensitive fuzzers, if you've got anything that has a lower impedance and that is part of the sound of that pedal. So, and there's, I think we all know about germanium fuzzers and that sort of stuff, but there's actually a bunch of pedals that have got impedances of 300k, 150k. They set up that interaction between like the inductance of the coil and the input impedance of the pedal. If you put a really low output impedance buffer between the guitar and the input, you're fundamentally changing the way the guitar is going to react to that pedal. So I prefer, buffers at the end, fantastic. Even buffers after the gain stages, I think can work really well.
I concur.
But I don't, unless it's good doing a specific job, I don't really like having a buffer right at the front. That's in my rig. But it might be that you've got, in some rigs it might work great. Yeah. But that's certainly for my rig. Doesn't really work great for me.
Ammo Man 50 says hello from Wrexham, North Wales. It might be contentious. I have been greatly enjoying the series with Ryan Reynolds and
the football thing.
Tim, the other dude. Been greatly enjoying that.
Ryan Reynolds. It was in a movie called Just Friends, and it got absolutely slated by Rotten Tomatoes, and it's still it makes me wet myself laughing, that film. Yeah, it's probably very non-PC now, but it's a very, very funny film.
What's it called?
Just Friends.
Just Friends. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's just...
Having been someone who ran magazines and had to have review sections, I have never understood why anyone would read a film review.
Right.
It's like, read the synopsis of what it says.
Right.
And then decide if you want to watch it or not. Why would you...
See, I much prefer going in to watch a film without knowing anything about it, whereas my wife wants to know as much as possible about it.
Why would you care what anyone else thinks about it?
Yeah. That's very interesting.
I've never understood that. Anyway, there we are. Robert Davis. Speaking of glassy, says Robert Davis. Oh God, have I lost you? He says, I have a big question for Mick on strats. What are the ways you avoid losing yourself in a band mix when you switch to your bridge pickup on a vintage style pickup? Single coil.
Man.
Dan, you've played in a band or two with me.
I have.
Does that ever happen?
No. Honestly, it is the most glorious thing. Mick, bridge pickup, fuzz, 2-rock.
Volume. But in all seriousness, I know what you're talking about, because it might be that those other positions you've got a bit more body, right? A bit more bass, a bit more mid-range. From a personal perspective, that's how I ended up discovering Tube Screamers, because they put that back into
that's very interesting.
into a Strat. You know, it depending on the pickup you've got, it can be weak, and I get it. I get what you're saying. So for me, the first step was Tube Screamer, because I would tend to use would have been silver panel Fenders to begin with, which were a bit mid-scoopy.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I've moved on to Mesa Mark series, they had all the mid-range back, so the Tube Screamer wasn't such a big deal for that kind of sound. And then latterly, Mesas through the years, and then now onto 2-rocks, they have a lot of mid-range because it's that sort of Dumble-derived, more midly sound. But I think you could trace a line there back to the Tube Screamer for that little mid-range hump, which is somewhere between, 5 and 800 hertz. It happens in a deluxe reverb when you turn it up. You get it?
Yep.
The Klon does it, but it also adds more above there. So what I'm saying is, you could try a mid-range focused overdrive such as a Tube Screamer or a Klon, and that will give you plenty of body. But more than that, it's about volume, really. And where I watched my neighbour's band last Thursday night, and the other guitar player had quite a weak sound because it was pretty quiet, and he was using first up he was using a wireless, second he was using a digital multi-effects pedal, and bridge pickup is like, yeah, that sounds thin.
Yeah.
Remove two of those things, remove the digital multi-effects pedal, remove the wireless, add a Tube Screamer, that would have been 3 times as fat.
Mm.
So you sort of take your money, make your choice, convenience, all of that good stuff, but volume, mid-range, that's gonna do it. And we're all scared about volume, aren't we? I heard the 2 guitar players watching the band, they're all too scared to be too loud. And I'm sat there with my head in my hands going, I can't hear you. Apart from one bit where Martin, my friend, was loud enough, and the bass player's giving it the whole, ooh, and it's like, no, mate, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's totally fine.
There's been moments, so real revelation moments, hearing you on the bridge pickup. But and we talk about it all the time, right? We talk about what volume gives you is dynamics. And there's something about the single coil at the bridge pickup on a Strat that I think is drastically misunderstood. And when you hear it at volume, so listen to all the greats that use Strats, and it's like,
does it ever sound thin?
What are they doing that sounds so different? It's not rocket science.
No.
They've got it turned up to where everything's working and they're getting all the dynamics out of it. And, when Mick's loud, he's got this dynamic level. But what's fascinating about, especially the old Strat, but all of Mick's Strats, you'll play dynamically, and as you dig in, it just goes to another level, and it's just
Yeah.
like it's like where it never seems to
It won't
stop.
stop. That's
It's
the thing.
crazy.
Humbucker definitely tops out, and it just won't do any more. The humbucker,
Yeah,
I find.
right.
But the Strat just
Keeps going. It's amazing.
And it does come into its own at volume. Funnily enough, Doyle Bramall, I mean, you'll see him with all kinds of guitars playing live, but I remember he said to me once, I think, or I might have read it in an interview. I have interviewed Doyle and I've spoken with him, and I can never quite remember whether it was research that I'd done or whether he said it to me straight off. Anyway, whatever. Quite often recording, you play all kinds of guitars, humbucker guitars, this and that and the other, and he's more than once described his Strat as his live guitar.
Wow.
Even though he plays other,
Yeah.
he'll play a 335 or a Collins I-35 or all kinds of guitars he'll play live, Lester's. But he has said in the past that the Strat is the live guitar because it has that dynamic range, whereas the more powerful guitars, inverted commas for Patreon podcast listeners, are the ones that lose the dynamic range a little bit when it gets so loud. But
Yeah.
anyway, volume, bit of tube screamer, and if you've got a wireless or too much buffer in the front, get rid of that, because that to me always makes everything sound thin.
Yeah, can do. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Good luck.
Good luck, mate.
D&M, Rick Van Dyne. I recently rediscovered my 100 watt Mesa Boogie dual rectifier tremor verb
They are fantastic amps.
that I've had since I was a teenager. How often do either of you rediscover gear you took a break from only to fall in love again?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. Hotcakes been one for me. I've been fairly consistent with the flanges, but I'll go in and out of which one I prefer at the time. Yeah. It's one of those things that if you have a substantial amount of gear and you go through phases, but it is really interesting to go back, a couple of iterations ago and try that stuff back out and see if you've moved on. I think it'd be a really interesting show, actually. You and I go back to our teenage rigs.
Yeah, we have talked about that, haven't we?
Yeah.
That would be cool.
I've got to find a Roland GP8.
I need to find a Boss SD1. 2 Boss SD1s.
I'm
A silver-faced twin and a Strat.
You will punch me in the face when you hear my sound. You absolutely will.
Metaphorically speaking, of course. It'll just be It'll just be disdain, Dan. That's all it'll be. It'll be a healthy element of passive-aggressive disdain for an hour.
Great.
All right, can we work with that?
We can. We can. We can.
Thing is, though, we'll probably love it. Bit like my appreciation of 80s music. I thought it was the worst thing in the world in the 80s and 90s. Now I have absolute 80s.
Well, we've got Sovtech.
Yeah.
I need a GP8 and I need a Marshall JMP1.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. That will be really interesting. Here's a GP8.
Single songwriter says, Dan and Mick, do your guitars have treble bleeds? And would a volume pedal be good or bad? Thanks from Massachusetts.
No, I don't think any of our guitars have treble bleeds, do they?
One of mine does. The PRS DGT.
Does. Right.
I don't like treble bleeds for my normal kind of setup because I've learned to play over the years without one, and always been fortunate enough to always be able to play loud. And on a Strat, when you've got plenty of stuff on and you've got the amp cranked, turning it down, it doesn't actually lose that much, and the amount it loses is enough to sit back under the mix and me to be able to sing over, or whoever else is singing. So I like it as a functional kind of, it sort of gets out of the way a bit. And if I want it bright, when I turn it down, I'll kick something on that's got a really aggressive buffer in it. And I've got a couple of delay pedals that do that. and also Kingsley preamps and, well, anything really. And that will keep it lovely and bright. So I've got other ways of making it bright that doesn't require a treble bleed. The one instance where I love a treble bleed is if you're using a really, really cranked amp, like a Marshall Plexi or anything that's really cranked, deluxe reverb. And if it's properly cranked into really heavy overdrive, then I think a treble bleed makes a lot of sense, and it works really fantastically with the DGT.
Yeah.
We did a show a few weeks back sort of highlighting that. So, but no, I don't use treble bleeds per se because I've got other things that do that job. Also, bear in mind that mine and Dan's rigs have, how do I say this without sounding boastful, unbelievably clean and transparent signal path thanks to G3. So even though it might be, and good power right on the board. So you people never believe us. They never believe it until they hear it. Clean signal path, great power on the board. Some of those other things that are there to fix are no longer quite so required. You're much closer again to just having the guitar cable in the amp. It's that sort of relationship. And again, depending on what amp you've got, I find that a treble bleed is less required in that circumstance.
Sorry, I just got a text from Graham Coxon.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so there are other ways around it, but let's follow all that up by saying plenty of our good chums who are amazing players use treble bleeds as a main part of their tone. Andy Timmins would be one. Yeah. So it's not like a good or a bad thing. It's just what you've learned, I think, over the years. Volume pedals, I've never had one. Dan?
No, I used to have one on a rig when I had an acoustic guitar on a stand, and I had to quickly mute things.
Remember that passive-aggressive disdain we were talking about?
That was fun.
Please tell me you had a ponytail as well.
Oh, yeah. So BV said...
I had a ponytail, by the way.
BV said that we should do... When we do the teenage rigs, we need to do the teenage dress-up as well. So I think that'll be great.
BV. I found a picture of us in we did a little tour of Germany.
Right.
I would have been about 19, I guess, 18, something like that. And we had this Mercedes 308D van.
Right.
And I'm wearing an Oakland A's baseball hat.
Right.
Think Nike Air Jordans and like a long Crombie coat.
Nice.
What was I thinking? And we'd scrawled a very rude word in electrical tape on the side of the van.
Someone sent me a picture of me, 17, in a band. It's for your eyes only.
Are you kidding?
No.
You have to show the people that. That is unbelievably cool, man.
It's not cool. There was nothing cool about it.
That is beyond cool. You're not going to
about
believe this.
There we go. That's me, 17, with my HM Strat.
That is spectacular, mate.
Just...
Full respect.
But the wig that I'm going to have to wear,
yeah,
for the show,
full respect.
Yeah.
Okay, we are so doing this. We are so doing this. We are so doing this. Dormant says, "What do you mean? What were you thinking? That outfit sounds awesome even today." Yeah, full on the what's the word? Postmodern, isn't it? Bizarrely, I was looking at. I was on the Nike website earlier on today, looking at some Jordans and some Air Force Ones.
Oh, nice!
Yeah, I think the time has come. I've got to walk miles around NAMM, and I think my Red Wings might be a bit uncomfortable. Mike 2203. He says, "Hi DNM. I just picked up a 2019 Gibson 339 studio
nice,
for just over £1,000. Sounds like my 335. Really chuffed. Were the studio models more affordable due to the finish?"
They're chambered as well, aren't they? The studio models. No, actually, 339 is already.
Yeah, it's already
there's the Les Paul studio is chambered.
In Les Paul land, studio used to mean no binding, and some of the sort of fancier accoutrement not there anymore. That's what your studio used to mean. So I'm assuming it has similar connotations. So some of the adornments, the visual adornments, maybe scaled back a bit to hit a better price point. Yeah. What a cool guitar, Mike.
They're great. 339s are great because they're a bit smaller body.
Easier to handle.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoy that.
Yeah, that's great, mate. Well done.
Mr. Baker. Hello, Mr. Baker. Got a solid gold effects. If 6 was 9 after last week's Q&A, what a sound. Run it into a D&M, harmonious monk and a flashback. The dry wet makes such a difference. Home volumes couldn't be better. Thanks for everything.
Awesome. Oh, man. Yeah, wet dry. Incredible. Actually, solid gold effects are now... so diamond pedals are coming back.
Yeah.
And solid gold effects are basically ushering in the new era of diamond pedals, which is really great. So I remember meeting, I cannot remember his name from Solid Gold Effects. Man, it must be 15 years ago. And that was when I was just completely in love with my Duo Fuzz. And they did a version of it, which was so cool. And yeah, they've always had some really strong pedals. So I was delighted when I heard those guys would be.
I was just having a look on their website. I didn't know anything about them. Canadian Greg DeGerian.
Yes, yeah, that's him.
And I apologise if I've said that wrong, Greg. But yeah, solid gold effects, cool. Yeah, excellent. It's going to be really good seeing Diamond come back.
Yeah, man. Boy, oh boy. Such wonderful, wonderful pedals.
Yeah, that's good. They got in touch, actually. I must get back to them. Jeremiah McCann. Hi, Jeremiah. It's nice to hear from you. Can a delay pedal be modded to stop reversing the phase in my wet dry setup? Reversing the phase. Yeah, the Boonar does this. Is really annoying. I think it does anyway. Love my Diamond Memory Lane 2 Diamond, but reaching down to turn the mix down is annoying.
Okay, so a couple of things that you can do. So the problem is only really apparent if you've got it if you've split the signal and you've got it in like a wet dry thing and you kick that pedal on. So say true bypass, you've got everything's in phase. You kick it on and it reverses the phase. So somewhere along the line, you've got non-reverse buffers and non-phase reverse buffers and phase reverse buffers. Depends on how it's op amps. Depends how that's set up. Somewhere in that area is a phase reverse op amp. So two things that you can do. You can, if you know how to solder and have any things with circuit boards, you can put a separate phase reversing circuit just before the return back into the foot switch, so it becomes part of that circuit. So that's one way to do it. Or if you've got it in a loop, you can put a phase reversing circuit in a little box and stick it after the pedal and then in the return of the loop, and that's one way to do it. It's a pain when that happens.
It is. The way I used to deal with it was I would have you were saying pain. It's a pain to turn the delay level up and down. I would have that on a expression pedal. So the delay's always on, which in the case of the
Echo Record, no, was it
the Belly Puck Deluxe?
Belly
maybe
Puck Deluxe? That's the one.
Yeah, was great because I quite like the sound of the always on buffer thing. It sounded brilliant, so that was not a problem. And then the second benefit was that you don't always want the same delay level depending on whether you've got a ton of gain happening or not much or whatever. So you could ride the delay level, effect level, using an expression pedal, which is what Andy Simmons does. And that worked really well. So it was kind of a fix and a win. So you could try that.
Yeah.
Or do what he said.
Yeah. It is annoying though.
It's
It is
really annoying. Presumably on G3 you can flip the phase of a loop, can you?
You can flip the phase, have it go into the there's a phase flip on the parallel side. So yeah, you absolutely just flip it.
Yeah.
You can flip it per preset, but yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah. Good luck. Luis Enrique Machado says, "Greetings, beautiful humans. Have you tried the Meris LVX? If so, how are you liking it?"
I have it on my board. And Mick and I are going to be doing a show soon.
Called something like, "Oh no, complicated pedals."
Yeah. Because I first started using it and I hit a brick wall with it. And then I had a revelation with it. So it's now on my board and I love it. I think it sounds amazing. All the Meris stuff just sounds so good. But I was struggling. It's one of those pedals. It does so much. It's like, getting around a delay pedal. Even the timeline I found quite simple to get around. It was like choose your delay engine, and you had a couple of options as far as control 1 and control 2, or color 1 and color 2, that would do different things depending on the engine. But apart from that, it was pretty simple. And I had a screen that told you what preset that you're on. I thought that was great. But the LVX is something different, and there's so much capability with it. It's such a powerful thing, and it absolutely can be intimidating. But so we'll get into this more in the show, but I just started going through presets.
I'm working backwards.
And working back, find the things I get to sound like, oh, that sounds magic, and then trying to work out what it was about that.
Yeah.
Instead of just starting from scratch and trying to go through the manual bit by bit, it's overwhelming.
BV says, "Have TPS changed Patreon to $5 US as the lowest entry point?" I wasn't aware of that, BV. I'll get Catherine to log in and see what's happened. We'll have a look at that right now. We certainly haven't done that knowingly or with intent. So if it's happened, it's been some sort of software update.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's see.
So cool. I'll email Catherine now and she will tell me. It is.
Leyland Berg says about the phase thing, that's not a common problem, get another delay. It's more common than you think, Leyland. So the reason that a lot of people don't experience it is if you've just got a one amplifier and you're plugged in and you're going to one amplifier, it doesn't really matter if the effect changes phase, because the phase will only be relative to a secondary phase. So if we do the push me pull you, if you've got two amplifiers going like this and you've changed the phase on one side and you're doing this, so then you get phase cancellation. But if you've only got one amplifier and you change the phase, you won't notice it. So it wasn't really a massive consideration for designers. And then a couple of idiots get on YouTube, start
talking about analog drive-through and phase
and all that stuff, and
and it's annoying if you found a delay pedal that you like using and you love the sound of. Yeah. That was certainly the case with a couple of mine. I never got to the bottom of the Boonar. I could never get the Boonar right. So does anyone know if the Boonar is analog drive-through? Because I couldn't get it working.
Okay, that's very interesting.
In my wet dry rig, and I always had to have a phase reversal on it, and that never sounded right either. So maybe it is, but I never worked it out.
Yeah. I think with a lot of that stuff, if they've got preamp modelers in there,
yeah,
and the preamp modeler isn't is not just on the delay line,
Yeah.
then it has to go through some sort of DSP. So then you get a time shift and Haas effect and all that stuff when you're doing a wet dry thing. That is one of the things with the wet dry thing. It really can sound exceptional, especially for lower volume rigs. It can sound absolutely glorious, but there are those little things that you need to make sure keeping everything in a line.
Yeah. I could never, just couldn't do it. Brian Garcia. Hello, Brian.
Hello, Brian.
Says, I caught Ariel Posen on Friday.
Yeah, man.
And then Joe Bonamassa in his final show of the spring tour the day after here in Florida. My heart is full with tone.
How glorious.
Yeah.
That's lovely, mate.
Nice couple of gigs.
Yeah.
Ariel is so good.
He's extraordinary.
He is so good.
So he played in Swindon, and it was annoying. He'd been touring around the UK and doing these really massive dates and loads of people. He comes to Swindon, like 12 people turn up. Yay, Swindon. Yeah. You know what? He put on the most awesome show to those 12 people, and he's like, okay, and he got everyone to come up really close, and it was beautiful.
Yeah.
So I bought T-shirt, I bought a CD, I was like, you're amazing.
Yeah.
Sang his
Pro.
heart out.
Pro.
It was just awesome. And everyone sort of left there better for it.
Yeah.
It was really beautiful.
That's a nice story.
I think the world of that guy.
I like that. Tim Lurch is on. Hello, Tim.
G'day, mate.
He says, hey guys, logging in late today. Happy birthday, Mick. Thank you, Tim. Thank you kindly. He says, new guitar day. I'm awaiting the arrival of a 62 Guild A350.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, man. Always wanted one for many years. Fingers crossed.
One of the guys used to study with, one of the students, had an old Guild jazz guitar. It was just the most delicious sounding guitar. Actually, I played an old 70s Guild acoustic that I'll never forget as well. They made some awesome instruments.
Oh yeah, that looks really nice. I was just making sure it was what I was thinking of.
Right.
Yeah, with the floating neck pickup. Oh my god. That looks great.
Oh wow.
So cool.
Wow.
So cool. Love arch tops. I've got no idea what to do with them, but I flipping love them. They just look beautiful, don't they?
Yeah, they really do.
So Catherine has just confirmed the custom pledge suggestion defaults to $5, but there is a minimum amount of $1. So
there's a slider on there that you can move.
Yeah. So it's not the minimum. It's $5 is definitely not the minimum for those who were asking. BV, thank you for bringing that up. Catherine's just logged in and checked. So there we are. And our last super chai this evening would be Oliver Boysen. Hello, Oliver.
G'day, mate.
He says, or Boisen. Apologies if I've said your name wrong, Oliver. Greetings, DNM. I'm about to apply for university. So I have to... I have a very important question. How do I balance studying and buying guitar pedals? Should we give you the responsible dad and uncle answer?
No.
Would be put all your money and concentration into studying, and then when you're older, you'll be able to buy all the guitar pedals you want.
No,
exactly.
No.
I used to sometimes miss my rent to buy stuff.
Yeah.
I gave up one of my A-levels to go on tour.
Yeah, I didn't finish my degree because I had a tour. I had to go on. And it was like, why am I studying to do the thing what I want to do when it's already telling me to come and do it?
Yeah.
It's like, okay. And I always thought I'd go back, finish it off, but it's like...
Here's a question for you then.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a question for you. Dan and I, right, here, I shall dress this up with some context.
Okay.
Dan and I have been lucky, privileged, whatever, right place, right time, enough to have spent most of our later work in life, I mean, all of my work in life, to be fair, I went into guitar magazines when I was 21. And Dan started the gig rig a good while ago now. And before that was touring and professional musician. So maybe you have a better insight than I have. So we've been lucky enough to be around the best of the best for a long time.
Yep.
Now, this is an unusual journey into psychological time for me, because I don't think this kind of thinking is very useful. But I'm going to ask you the question anyway.
Ask away.
Do you think your life would have been better, happier, more complete, different had you become a world touring artist, professional musician? Or are you happier with it being a job of sorts, but the playing part at this point, hobby?
It's such a great question.
It's a leading question,
Yeah.
obviously.
So right. When I was touring loads and playing 6 nights a week, it's not the playing that wears you down. It's the traveling, it's the waiting around, it's all that stuff that is wearing. The playing is the fun bit.
Yeah.
It's absolutely the fun bit. And I'm a better player because of all those years of doing that stuff. However, it's amazing how quickly it goes.
Yeah.
But it's really hard because I don't have... I remember some points touring being absolutely miserable.
Yeah.
It's like, this is... And it depends what you're playing as well. Because there's touring and there's touring, right? Because if I remember touring with Max, I had a guitar tech and we were doing these crazy venues, and that was really fun. Looking back on it, it was really fun. Actually, there were moments where we were in it. We were all miserable.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really tricky.
Isn't it?
What about you?
I guess the sort of tenor of the question is, I think we're quite privileged in being able to have it as a hobby at this level.
Sure.
Where it's all enjoyment.
Yeah.
I don't resent any part of playing. Whereas about 10 minutes after being in a band, I'm like, oh God, I could really do without this.
Right.
And I know that's not a very healthy way to think about it, but I guess I'm saying I feel very lucky that we can deal with it on this level.
Yeah, right.
With all the fun attached to it.
Yeah.
And without any of the pain attached to it. Now, that is all a state of mind, of course, because if you were doing lots of the things I talked about earlier, none of the above would be an issue. But yeah, I'm interested. I think, if one had have been a recording artist that had put out a body of meaningful work, that would be good.
That'd be amazing.
I would be definitely up for that. But schlepping around being a pro muso, playing for people you don't like, not getting paid enough and having to share hotel rooms,
hard.
Yeah, I just don't know if I'd have enjoyed that. And probably why I ended up not doing it.
And also that life, a lot of people are really drawn to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it can be amazing, but it also, when you go through that door, other doors shut. Other doors are much harder to keep open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No regret, says Eric Caterle. No, exactly. I don't have a single regret.
Yeah.
And
I met my wife at playing a gig in Sydney. We weren't married then, of course. I didn't marry her, and then she turns up to the gig. We met at a gig. Of my best friends I've met, being in bands and stuff. It has been such a rich source of fulfillment and just fun. I mean, I'm sure everyone out there is watching this because we all share that same thing, right? Once you've experienced getting this and plugging into an app and going, there is nothing like it. In the world, there is nothing like it. And you can't explain it to anyone unless they've done it. And it's like, and there's a knowing. It's like, yeah, it's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. It is. Mike Doctor says, or Mike DR says, the mind always focuses on the pleasant parts of our memories. I'm not sure that's true, Mike. I know lots of people who are consistently stuck in regret and alignment with all the things that have gone wrong in their lives. They're the opposite of that. I know lots of people like that who just live in the regret of all the stuff they didn't achieve or did badly. They become totally identified with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's rose tinted. What's interesting about that is that rose tinted glasses is the same thing. It's a preoccupation with the past or the future, which takes you out of the bit that you it takes you out of life, and it puts you into memory and thought.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's the same, whether it's good or bad past. It's the same. It's still thought.
Yeah.
It's identification with thought, not identification with life.
Right.
Anyway, that's a whole other thing. And to be fair, Tim Lurch said something profound.
He does that.
Fallback plans are often a prediction.
Ooh, that is very good. There's our next T-shirt.
If I had a little bing here, it would go bing like that.
Ooh, credit Tim on the T-shirt.
Yeah.
Very good. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Yep. Good. Touring is a lifestyle. It chooses you, says Scott Gaylor. Totally believe that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, like anything, if you do realise early enough that you should just follow what this moment is telling you to do, then that's part of that, isn't it? Jolly good.
Put it this way,
Tim B says, so in summary, spend all your money on pedals. No, don't do that. Get a couple of nice pedals. Get 2 or 3 really great things that are just going to be fine, and use those.
Yeah.
Concentrate on your playing.
I hope this comes out the way I intend it to come out. It probably won't, but I'm going to try. There are a few. My brother, for example, very successful businessman, right? Beautiful house, like on the water. He's got a, jetty out the back. Super successful. And we've had conversations where he says, I'm so envious of you. Like, what are you talking about? It's like, you've got to play music and you're living your dream. And it's like, oh, that's amazing. And I've had a number of those conversations with people. There's that are fascinated in general by people who have followed a dream, and have somehow made it work. And my brother's now playing in a band, at 50 something.
Yeah,
I think he calls me and he says, why didn't you tell me this was so much fun?
Yeah.
I'm like,
well, playing in a band is I'm sure it functions on the same level as, people who are into extreme sports. They like, I don't know, whatever it is you like doing, black run skiing or jumping out of aeroplanes or racing motorcycles or doing ball grabbing, martial arts and stuff. Whatever it is you do that is not work, and they all work in the same way, is that they put you in this moment and they stop you thinking about any sort of psychological time past or future, because you have to be in the moment, don't you, when you're grappling?
Of course.
And what happens if you start thinking about what's going to happen at work tomorrow when you're grappling?
You will tap.
You get beat.
You absolutely do.
Yeah, and I think being in a band works on the same way. So it might be that your brother is experiencing the timelessness of this moment, which is infinite.
Yeah.
And he's not burdened by all his psychological time in his head thinking, am I going to be able to pay everyone this month?
Yep.
What's Dave going to eat for tea?
Yep.
Is Julie going to pass her exams and go to college? All of that is not present in that moment.
Yes, of course.
And I think that's how it works. And I think that's why it's so enjoyment, because it forces you into the moment.
Joe Strummer equated it to being in a gang, being in a band.
There is that.
And I loved that. And I there are things that like my best friends are still the people I was in my first band with.
It's family, isn't
You
it?
know, it's incredible. You share something with people that you play music with that you will never share with anyone else.
Yeah.
It's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
On that note.
Robert Davis says, Mick, what was the book you talked about? 2 books that come with a caveat, Robert. They're both by a guy called Eckhart Tolle, Eckhart, I think, Tolle. Tolle. One book is called The Power of Now, and the other one is called A New Earth. And it's really important to say, right? I want to make this really clear because quite often people get very angry when you recommend things like this. There's no truth. There's no theory. There's nothing that's contained in that book that is in any way true, factual. You know, it's not like a course of if you learn your chord shapes, you'll become a better guitar player. It's nothing to do with that. All it is a signpost to a way of thinking. So it's not a religion. It's not a doctrine. It's not ideology. It's nothing you have to get identified with. All it is a signpost to say, if you can think slightly differently, suffering will get out of your life. And I'm sure there are many other routes to the same place. So I'm not saying it's the be-all and end-all is what I'm saying, because I'm recommending it. I'm not endorsing it as some kind of ideology. It's the opposite of ideology. It's just a different way of thinking. And I thoroughly recommend it.
Sorry, I was playing Bonanza.
Good. I like it. Yeah. Getting out of your head. Getting out of your head is what it's all about. Good. I think that's us.
Cool.
Jolly good. Marcus Reeves, hello Marcus, he says, yesterday and tomorrow are just neurons. Now is all there is.
Very good.
It's absolutely right, mate. Absolutely right. Good. 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 We will see you Friday. We're not entirely sure what Friday's video is going to be. It might be Danish Pete and the Captain, or it might be whammy pedals, or it might be chorus. Dan has prepared an all-you-can-eat buffet chorus episode where we're going to learn lots about chorus.
Yeah.
And why it's so cool.
Indeed.
It's blue, therefore it is cool.
Yes. Yes.
Know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Know what I'm saying?
Okay, thanks for being here, everyone. We do appreciate your company.
So much.
And if the philosophy's too much, is it?
No, it's wonderful. So many, I'm including myself,
It's a rhetorical
needed to hear that.
It's a rhetorical question, Dan. If not now, when?
It's not that, it's this.
See you next week, everyone. Bye.